Welcome back to Northwest City Politics in the Know with Juanita. We're glad that you're joining us again this evening. We're always happy that there are people like you out there, people that are interested in the issues that are happening in our city. Because it is important for good government that there be contact and ideas flowing back and forth between the residents of our city, between the mayors and the city council and the city staff. So we're glad that you're interested. Now, if you haven't watched our show before, each week we'll have somebody on from one of the 9 cities in Northwest Community Television's viewing area to help us learn about what are the current issues that are happening in that city. And then we'll let you know, if you live in that city, that we'd like you to take down the email and the phone number of your mayors and city council people, or tonight we'll be talking with candidates so that you can be in contact with them. It's election season, as I'm sure everybody well knows, and maybe kind of groans a little bit at that, but we're going to be talking with our last group of city council candidates all through the month of September and October. We've been bringing people from the 9 cities that have elections to you so that you can get some information that will help you in deciding who to vote for. And we do encourage you to be sure to vote at the city council level. These candidates are the people, when you elect them, that will make decisions that affect you the most directly. So I'm very happy tonight to welcome as guests and people that will help share information. First, we've got Amy Hanson from Brooklyn Park and the West District. I'll just ask each of you to make sure I give it the right term. Then Kathleen Gette, who's running for the Osseo City Council, and James Jackson for the Central District. Yes, so we're very happy to have all of you joining us tonight.
Thanks.
And as I told them ahead of time, they've got some issues that they've looked at and decided what they want to share with you, the voters out there. And we'll go with one person at a time. And we'll be starting out with Amy Hanson. And so they know ahead of time, but I want you to introduce yourself out to the voters out there. Let them know a little something about you and your background and why you're running and how your background helps you be prepared.
Very good. Thanks for having us this evening, Juanita. My name is Amy Hanson, and I'm a 15-year resident of Brooklyn Park's Hart-Koff neighborhood. My husband Scott and I are raising our 2 daughters there. They're 15 and 11 and attend Brooklyn Park Public Schools in the Osseo School District. I started out as a crime watch captain when I first moved to Brooklyn Park because I wanted to make a difference in my neighborhood.
Right.
I grew up in a really small town, so I wanted that small town feel, even though I'm living in a really big city.
Right.
And so the way for me to do that was just to get involved and start a crime watch group. We had some crime and nobody knew neighbors. We had a lot of elderly moving out and new families moving in. So we all wanted to get to know each other. So that's where I really got my start and wanted to make a difference in my community. And over the past 15 years, I've had a hand in several different city community groups and commissions, and I started the Brooklyn Park Beyond the Yellow Ribbon Network, which means we were proclaimed a Yellow Ribbon City by the governor, and we support veterans and military families right here in Brooklyn Park. We connect them to services they need here. We're an all-volunteer group.
Right.
So I'm very proud of that. And most recently, I've been serving as the vice chair of the Planning Commission here in Brooklyn Park. And that's really let me see the economic growth and development that our city needs to really help out our taxpayers and their tax burdens, as I've been hearing as I've been door knocking. So for me, I really wanted to run for office because I care about our community. I've done the volunteering time. I've, like you mentioned, gotten to know city staff and other people within our city and our residents, and I really feel like I can give them an independent voice, as I'm not taking any party endorsements. I'm just a regular resident who cares and wants to make a difference in our city.
Okay, good, thank you. Now remember, take down phone numbers and emails if you live in Amy's district. Now we'll move on to talk a little bit about issues, and I'll let you pick one of the issues that I listed or one that you think is special to your city. It doesn't necessarily have to be the most important, but one that you'd like to share with the voters out there.
Right, well, one thing that I've been seeing, I've been out visiting neighbors and door knocking, and we are in the middle of a budget cycle here in Brooklyn Park.
Right.
And the next city council will vote on what it will be the largest city budget in city history, over $48 million. And so one thing I'm hearing from residents is that that's a lot of money, and that's a very large tax burden. And so that's a really large concern to me. And that really plays a hand with development, because right now around 70% of our revenue from the city comes from taxes from our residents.
Right.
So we need to improve our development, get more economic development and redevelopment and growth, so we can help our taxpayers out with their tax burden and even that out a little bit. And especially with our budget growing so much, we need to maybe find ways that we can plug residents into programs that we already have instead of just creating new programs. So I've always been known as a person to connect people,
Right.
and I really want to make sure that we're connecting people to the right services that they need within the city of Brooklyn Park.
Is there anything special that you'd want to see put into place?
Well, one of the things that has been really exciting for me on the Planning Commission is we are really working to become more and more business friendly.
Okay.
So we realize that we have to be business friendly, but at the same time we want to protect development in Brooklyn Park to make sure we have quality development. Now, our development is growing rapidly. We actually have the highest percentage of job growth in all of the metro area right now. We're even beating Hennepin County itself. We've put in over 4,000 jobs since 2009, so that's a lot of jobs. Something I'm really proud of and would like to see more of is I voted for Hy-Vee coming in, and that provided hundreds of jobs, and a lot of them for people who need a second job or for our youth who need to gain job experience. So that's one thing I like to see continue, as well as redevelopment. We have had a great opportunity in the redevelopment of the Anchor Block property that's here in the West District. So Ramsey Excavating has purchased that site and is redeveloping it, and it's already looking better than it was even a few months ago. So it's really important that we not only focus on economic growth and job growth, but that we focus on redevelopment as well.
Right. Then another issue that you'd like to tell the voters out there about?
Yeah, well, the other issue I hear a lot about is the light rail, because it's coming right through the West District in Brooklyn Park. And I've also had a hand in that, being on the Planning Commission and sitting on several different community discussions. And one thing we're hearing is neighborhood stabilization, making sure that our neighborhoods stay safe when the light rail comes through. And some things we're looking at are some different fencing options, just only for neighborhood safety, but for safety for pedestrians in crossing West Broadway when the light rail comes through. Streetscaping is going to be happening, so West Broadway will have a brand new, fresh facelift, as you could call it, for our city. So I'm really excited to be a champion for that work for our city and for our residents. It's going to be a beautiful opportunity to showcase something great here in Brooklyn Park.
Right. And then another issue, we have a little bit of time left.
Well, you know, I always hear from neighbors, just people being connected with each other. The neighborhood initiative in Brooklyn Park has really gotten started over the past few years. I had a hand in that on the community engagement initiative. And I think it's just starting to really lift off. And so getting people connected to their neighbors is always important to me. That's how I got my start in being connected in our community.
And is there any interesting little thing that happened when you're door knocking that you want to share?
Yeah, so it's been really fun to meet residents out door knocking. I've petted a lot of really great dogs, which is awesome because I'm a dog lover and have a dog. And I also had someone invite me in for coffee recently. So it's great to see residents who feel comfortable and want to get to know us. And the people in the West District in general are just so kind and gracious when we come to their door. It's really been a good experience for me.
Okay, now give you a chance to tell the voters out there in your district in Brooklyn Park why they should vote for you on November 8th.
I ask for your vote on November 8th because I can be an independent and authentic caring voice for the residents of the West District, as I've been doing for the past 15 years as a city volunteer. So please get out and vote for Amy Hanson on November 18th.
Good, thank you very much. Now we'll move along to Kathleen Gette from Osseo, and I'll let you introduce yourself out to our wider audience, but especially the people in Osseo.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Gette. I'm a lifelong Osseo resident, and I'm running for City Council. This is my first time running for an official position. I've worked on a few different commissions, and I've learned a lot about the City Council, the process, but mainly I'm running for City Council because I have seen many ways that processes can be improved for the residents. And I've noticed that one area that's really lacking in the City Council is quality communication, accurate communication, and a way to allow residents, many ways to allow residents the chance to give their opinion.
Oh, right, right.
Because Osseo has a lot of different ways to inform residents. We have the Osseo Press. Channel 12 has the news and does a segment on Osseo and the community. There's an Osseo Outlook, which is a quarterly news magazine. And residents get their information that way.
Right.
But there aren't many ways for residents to tell the city what they want, especially when communication, one-on-one communication, is very time-consuming.
Oh, yes, yes.
And I've heard the incumbents say that they want to talk to residents one-on-one, and that's great. But how many residents can you really reach on a one-on-one basis?
Right.
And if they're talking to residents during the day, they're missing people that are at work.
Right, right.
So there have to be other ways added so everyone can be heard.
Right.
And not just word of mouth, which can get mixed up. Messages can get messed up. Misunderstandings happen. So I'm running because I'm proposing that Osseo expand its communication technology and add a bunch of different varieties of communication so residents can be heard. And when there's a special issue, for example, recently there was a big issue. Osseo had voted to install an electronic billboard. And this was, I didn't hear about it until there was a public hearing. And that was the first time I heard about it because I didn't live where the electronic billboard was going to be installed.
Right.
And what had happened was there was an electronic billboard. It was like 60 feet high, 60 feet wide, 40 feet long or tall. It was 60 by 40. It was gigantic, and it was two-sided. It ran 24 hours a day, and it was determined it was going to be placed in a residential neighborhood. So the residents that lived in a certain area of where that billboard was going to be placed got a notice. But they were the only ones who received a letter.
Okay.
There was a public notice, but that was a very small, legal type of notice that in a document that people just don't have access to or would ever read.
Right.
So there was a public hearing, and the city hall was just packed. It was standing room only. And one after one after one after one residents said, please don't put this electronic billboard in our neighborhood. It's going to be on 24 hours a day. It's going to be really bright. It's going to be flashing ads. Who knows what was going to be playing on it, but they were trying to get it so traffic on 169 would see it. And that's why they chose this residential location.
Okay, now I'm going to stop you there because I want
Sure.
you to be able to give some ideas on some issues for the city. Now that's a good, I mean,
yeah.
that's one of the issues, obviously, but to give you a chance to talk about
Well,
some
this
others.
actually is the main issue.
Okay.
It's all about communication. And the reason I used the electronic billboard as the example was because there were so many residents outraged, but they were the ones that were notified.
Okay.
And that was when I thought, why didn't the city notify everybody? Because this would have affected the entire city population. It wouldn't have just affected the people who actually had the billboard in their backyard.
Right.
I would have voted against it, even though I wouldn't be able to see it when I walked out my door, because that's just, that would hurt quality of life for residents, and it would take away from Osceo's small town reputation and feel, which is what many people say is the reason they love living in Osseo. It's because of the small town feel. So I was at that public hearing, and after the residents spoke against the billboard, the council voted. And 3 voted for the electronic billboard and gave their reasons, and 1 council member voted against. But what else I noticed was every council member had their decision made before hearing the residents speak. And they each had a report written that they read supporting their vote. And I thought that was really wrong. And
now I'm going to stop you here because I want you to tell people out in Osseo why they should vote for you on November 8th.
Well, I would like people to vote for me on November 8th because I believe my role as a council person is to represent the community and represent what Osseo residents want, not what I want personally. I don't have my personal agenda like many council people do, and I would be able to listen to residents with improved communication, and if there's an issue that needs to be voted on, let's take a vote. Let's survey residents. Let's use analytics and get the facts about the issues, get the facts about what residents want, and not just have, say, a council member who wants something, push it through and just assume that residents feel the same way, because they usually have their own opinions, and that's what I want to get. I want to have Osseo ask residents what they want, give them ways to communicate with the city.
So we'll move on to James Jackson from Brooklyn Park. And you already know that you're going to introduce yourself,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So I'll leave you to it.
Thank you. Well, thank you again, Juanita, and the Northwest City Politics for inviting us here tonight. My name is James Jackson. I'm running for City Council in the Central District of Brooklyn Park. I have been a resident for almost 5 years with my fiancée, Michelle, who live on 87th in Nevada. Prior to City Council, well, first, I was born and raised in South Minneapolis, product of Minneapolis public schools. Graduated Washburn High School, went to University of St. Thomas, where my bachelor's is in international finance and business law. Went to Hamlin University, where I got my master's of business administration and international management, and then a certificate from Hamlin School of Law in conflict resolution. So prior to City Council, I was a commissioner for Northwest Cable Commission. And Citizen Longship Commission, where I actually helped with the proposed Blue Line expansion that came out, which was approved, which got City Council approval this past February. And I was on the board of directors for here, Northwest Community Television Channel 12, helped with Mike Johnson.
Right.
So city politics isn't something that is new to me. Since I was 9 years old, my mother would have us out door knocking. I remember door knocking for Paul Wellstone and out in the rain, and at the time had no idea what we were doing, but my brothers and I were out there in the rain in ponchos, and she was instilling a sense of community activism in us.
Oh, right.
And something that is important to me is growing up in where I grew up in Minneapolis, it's very easy to make some wrong decisions and be a product of a certain environment.
Oh, right.
And so a sense of community is strong. And, you know, as the head of our household and as a soon-to-be husband and hopefully father, it is my responsibility to ensure that I have the best possible future for my family.
Right.
And so that's what prompted me to run. Our campaign is based on 3 simple philosophies: quality living. I know that our city is full of working, living families.
Okay.
So I want to ensure that we have the lowest possible taxes and ensure that our quality and our safety is up to par, which leads to my second platform is public safety, ensuring our police and our first responders are equipped, trained, and up to date. And then the final is jobs. I mean, development and resident prosper is something that is huge to me. You know, if you can't provide for your family, how can you have a quality of living? So to myself, it's really important for us to remove those hurdles for local business, to increase or entice investors to develop in our city, and then also keep those jobs locally. So.
Yeah, because those are your 3 issues, right?
Absolutely.
So maybe you can pick any one of those 3 and give us a little more information on what you'd like to see done to bring about what you'd like to see.
I actually touch on all 3 in one scenario. And it's something that's near and dear to me. And if you're a resident of Brooklyn Park, which I hope all of you listening are,
right.
There's a stigma in Brooklyn Park if you live north or south of 85th Avenue. And Michelle and I live right on the border. I mean, if the wind blows hard enough one day, we're in the south. So to me, we're right in the middle of it. And what I don't like is what I'm seeing the city, how they're developing. And it's natural to develop on undeveloped land. And our city was developed from the south to the north. And if you look at our zoning, a lot of our commercial real estate is in the northern parts of Brooklyn Park, where a lot of our residential is in the southern parts.
Sure.
Now, it is important for us to increase our tax base. And when I say increase our tax base, that does not mean increase our taxes. That means bring in people who can share our tax base. So imagine a pie and we're cutting more slices into the pie.
Right.
So that our taxes actually go lower. And what I want to do is not only focus on the new development, but also focus on those parcels that need redevelopment.
Right.
And one of the important things, and one of the things I'll give credit to with the city is they just gave a $16 million loan for the development of 3 properties that were south of 85th. And one thing that they did not mention was when they redevelop those properties, are the prices going to go up for those residents? Because affordable living goes into my quality of living. We have seniors that are on fixed incomes, and we have types of housing, affordable housing, that are also on fixed incomes. And so if you redevelop those and price those people out, they have nowhere to go. And to me, that is an important issue. And lastly, the development of the Blue Line coming from Minneapolis up to Target North Campus there. Public safety is going to be huge on that. You know, we're going to have to man those light rails, and jobs along those light rails. If we're busing, which is projected 27,000 people from downtown Minneapolis to Target North Campus, they're going to need somewhere to eat. You know, they're going to need childcare. They're going to need just the common amenities that you would find in downtown Minneapolis. And so I want to ensure that the Economic Development Authority is removing the barriers for those small businesses to open up restaurants and to open up places that we can increase, again, our tax base and also make Brooklyn Park a destination city. So.
We've got a little more time, so maybe you can reflect on something interesting that's happened to you while you were door knocking.
Oh gosh, and I will pull Michelle in here too in a heartbeat. But we get all the gamuts. We get the extreme activists. We get the people who don't care. But one of the really cool things that we've noticed is a lot of people just want to be heard. You know, and it's so unique that a lot of our city representatives, I'm not gonna say they don't care, but they don't have the time. And that's all we have is time. When we're at the doors, I intentionally don't push my agenda. I ask the question, and it's amazing how many people are receptive to that, and how many people that have become supporters because we've actually asked, and not only asked what's wrong, but asked what would they do to help fix it.
Oh, right.
And you know, when you have somebody who generates an idea and who supports that idea, they're going to naturally get behind that idea because they feel like, you know, they're driving
definitely.
that. And that's what I want to promote. As I don't have an agenda on city council, and I truly want to be community inclusive on all the decisions that we make.
Now we've got just a little bit of time, but I'll make sure that you get an adequate amount to tell the people out there in Brooklyn Park in your district, why should they vote for you on November 8th? They go into the voting booth, why should they check your name?
Sure, so voting matters. Whether you decide to vote for me or not, which I am humbly asking for your support November 8th, if you do not vote, you are not standing up for yourself. A lot of our generation has given up in our democratic process. And if you do not vote, you are not making yourself heard. And it's important for you to go out, do research on your candidate. For me personally, I have the energy, I have the experiential knowledge, and I have what it takes to get things done. Our campaign is reflective of fresh ideas and fresh perspectives, something that is not necessarily present there in Brooklyn Park, and something that I want to bring. True community activism, just a new breath of fresh air. So November 8th, please come out and vote for the best candidate that you feel. If you have any questions for me, my information is below. Please feel free to call. We're typically good at responding within 20 minutes. And if you want, we can sit down for coffee. So thanks a lot.
Well, I want to thank all three of you for sharing your time and your ideas with the voters out there. And I think you made a good appeal for be sure to vote. We've been encouraging you all along that if you're not sure if you're registered, go check at the Minnesota Secretary of State site. They'll be able to tell you. And if you miss the time deadlines, you can register when you go to vote. The Secretary of State site will also help you in terms of knowing where to vote, because if you put your address in, they can pull up where you need to vote, and they can also pull up your ballot. So there's a lot of information on that website if you're able to access a computer. But do take the time to be an informed voter, and especially at the city level, because I think sometimes the city candidates don't get as much publicity as they really should, because it is such an important area. And so I'm hoping that you took down, if you lived in Brooklyn Park and in Osseo and in either one of the two districts, took down the information on these two people and these three people, and use that information when you decide how you're going to vote in the election. We're happy that you've been with us, and we hope that you'll join us again next week. But the most important thing is be sure on November 8th that you get yourself to the appropriate polling place in your city. Thanks for being with us, and we'll look forward to see you again. Bye.